Hello everyone, and welcome back to another SHSAT review. Today we'll be reviewing 11 word problems from the 2011 SHSAT Student Handbook. Link will be in the description alongside a link to a Discord server that I recommend you join. I'm not the owner of this server, but if you ever need advice on how to study or need free study prep material, or if you just want to chat with others or chat with people who already took the test and got their offer like me, that's the place for you to go. Link will be in the description, but that being said, let's get started. I'm going to be on page 48, number 52. So it says, Ms. Garcia determines math grades on the basis of 5 tests, each worth 100 points. An average of at least 80 points is needed for a grade of B. On the first 4 tests, Hillary scored 91, 72, 69, and 83. What is the lowest score she may receive on a test and still earn a B? So you should already know that the average formula is going to be part 1 plus part 2, etc., over total part is equal to average. So what average do we want? We want her to earn a B, and we know a B is 80 points, so we know our average actually has to be 80. Next thing we know is that she took 4 tests, and we're solving on a basis of 5 tests, so we need 1 test that we don't know. So our total test is going to be 5. We already know 4. We're solving for 1 unknown test. So our total part is going to be 5. And now we can essentially look at our parts. What are our parts? Our parts are actually going to be her individual test scores. So like 91, 72, 69, 83. So let's set up our formula now that we know where to put everything. So our part 1 is going to be 91, plus our part 2, which is 72, plus our part 3, which is 69, plus our part 4, which is 83, and plus our, oh, this is too big. Sorry about that. They don't give you enough space on the goddamn test. It's always such a struggle bus to fit everything in. Oh, nope, that's the wrong thing. I need thin. Yeah, so it's going to be 91 plus 72 plus 69 plus 83. Remember, we're solving for 5 tests plus x, which is her final test, over 5, which is the total amount of scores, is equal to 80. Now we can just solve. We can multiply both sides by 5 to get rid of the denominator. We get 91 plus 72 plus 69 plus 83 plus x is equal to 400. We can combine like terms. I'll tell you that right now, that 91 plus 72, 91 plus 72 plus 69 plus 83 is going to equal to 315. Once we have 315, we must subtract it from 400. 400 minus 315 is going to give us 85. That means that x equals 85. This is fairly simple. You should know how to solve for an x. So her final score has to be an 85, which is J. Cool. This is a free point. That was an easy one. Number 53, we have 3 chains, each 14 feet in length, are linked end to end. 2 longer chains of equal length are added to make a total of a length of 100 feet. What is the length of one of the longer chains? Okay, so we have 3 of them, and they're all 14 feet in length. So we have 3 chains, and they're all 14 feet in length. But we also have 2 longer chains who are equal. We don't know the length, but we do know they're equal. Since x is equal to x, we can just say that the longer chains are x because we don't know them. Since both of them are equal, that means x is equal to x, so we can just write 2x. Because they're the same, we can multiply it by 2 to get the same thing. That's the same thing as saying x plus x. Anyways, they're all added, and they make a total length of 100. Once again, we just solve 3 times 14. I'll tell you that right now. 14 times 3 is 42, plus 2x is equal to 100. 100 minus 42 is going to be 58, so 2x is equal to 58. Divide by 2 on both sides. 58 divided by 2 is going to be 29 feet, which is A. Moving on to number 54. Suppose that the age of the Earth is 5.2 times 10 to the power of 9 years, and the age of a particular artifact is 1.3 times 10 to the power of 7 years. How many times older is the how many times older than the artifact is the Earth? Okay, so obviously the Earth has to be older than an artifact. And notice how it says how many times. How many times older means that we have to divide. We're dividing our bigger number by our smaller number. And how do we know it's bigger? How do we know it's smaller? We know it's bigger because it's to the power of 9. That means that there are 9 zeros behind it. And this means to the power of 7, meaning that there's 7 zeros behind it. Whatever has less zeros is, of course, going to be smaller. So we can simply set this up like so. We can do 5.2 over 1.3. Sorry, wait a minute. Yeah, we can split them up from their exponents. We can do 52 divided by 13 is equal to 10 to the power of 9 over 10 to the power of 7. 52 divided by 13 is 4. And whenever we have a fraction of exponents, we just have to subtract them. So 10 to the power of 9 over 10 to the power of 7 is the same thing as saying 10 to the power of 9 minus 7, which is 4. So we get 10 to the power of 2. And we carry that down to our 4. We get 4 times 10 to the power of 2, which is k, for 54. So I think the trickiest part here is just the vocabulary, but always know your exponent laws when doing these problems. Moving on to 58. Laura rode her bicycle at 15 miles per hour for 2 hours, then 12 miles per hour for 1 hour. What was the average speed of the entire ride? Okay, so we have to find out what our part is going to be, we have to find out what our whole is going to be, and what our average is. Well, we know our average is going to be her speed, right? So we're going to have to add up all the miles that she rode per hour. But we can't just add 15 one time and 12 one time, because remember, she rode at different times. So if she rode 15 miles per hour for 2 hours, that means that she did 15 plus 15. And if she rode at 12 miles per hour for 1 hour, that means she did plus 12. And our total is going to be how many hours she rode. Because think about it, what is MPH? Miles per hour, that's going to be miles over the amount of hours. Here are our miles. She rode 15 miles per hour for 2 hours, meaning that she did 15 plus 15, then 12 for 1 hour, so that's 12. That's our total number of miles. And this is our rate, which is 3 hours, so out of a total of 3 hours to find our average. This is going to equal to 42, because 30 plus 12 is 42. 42 divided by 3, and that is going to be 14. Yeah, so it's H. Moving on to number 59. 4 friends are going to sit in a row on a bench to have their picture taken. How many different orders can the 4 friends sit? So we have 4 friends in total. This is, I think, a combination problem. But the thing to take away is that if there's a bench, it has 4 slots for 4 friends, A, B, C, and D, to sit. But notice that once one seat is taken, another person cannot sit there. And then once this seat is taken, another person can't sit there, so and so. So we can write our formula up. So think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 available slots, 4 people. Person A, B, and C can all sit in slot number 4. So we'll write 4. Then, when person A, B, or C, or D sits down in slot 4, that slot is permanently taken. No one else can sit on top of them because they're in a row. So now we have 3 available seats in total, 3 available places for person A, B, C, or D to sit in. So times 3. Now once they sit in, there are only 2 places left. So only two people have to compete over that 1 seat. So we'll write 2 because there's 2 available seats. Once they sit down, there's going to be 1 seat and 1 only seat. So we'll multiply them like that. That's 12 times 2 times 1, which is 24, which is E. That's essentially how we're going to do it. We're going to take our total amount of people and multiply them in decreasing order, because you can't have person A on top of person B because they're in a row. So there's a finite amount of seats, so you multiply them by the amount of people who can fit in those seats to get the total probability. Important skill, important subject to learn. Moving on to number 62, which is right here. If a rectangular room is 3 times as long as it is wide, if the width is 8 feet how much square feet of carpet are needed. Okay, so it's 3 times as long as it is wide. So we know our width is 8. We know 3 times as long as it is wide, so that's just 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is going to be 24 on this side, and 24 on this side. If we need how many square feet of carpet needs to cover, that means we have to find the area of it. Area is LW, L times W, which is 8 times 24, which is K, which is 192 square feet. Pretty easy. Don't get mixed up with the wording. Other than that, moving on to number 63. Jody's class has between 30 and 41 students. Exactly 75% of the students in her class have red book bags, and exactly 1/6 of the students in her class do not have a book bag at all. How many students are in Jody's class? Well, think about it. We're given a finite range to 41 students, and since it's students, they have to be integers. They have to be whole numbers, whole positive numbers, because you can't have -1 student. You can't have 3/4 of a student, unless they were decapitated in some way or form, but I don't think the SHSAT covers decapitations. If they do, feel free to leave a comment or dislike the video. But anyways, we have that finite set of numbers, and we know that the probability is exactly 1/6 of all students don't have a book bag. So if 1/6 is a simplified version of the amount of students who have a book bag over the total amount of students, since it's 1/6, we know our number of students has to be divisible by 6. Because obviously, if it's 6, our denominator had to be divided by some number to get 6, so it has to be a multiple of 6. 30 to 41, what are multiples of, how many multiples are 6? Multiple of 6 are there between these numbers? Well, you have 30, which is divisible by 6. You also have 36. So now we can eliminate this piece of information because we used all of it up. We know that this can simplify into anything out of 30. We also know that 1 over 6 is this simplification of anything over x over 36. Next, we know that exactly 75% of our students have total red bags, and these are the total amount of students. So we can just multiply them by 75 to figure out which one is correct. So we do 30 times, gotta sneeze, never mind. So 75% is the same thing as saying 0.75, and we're just multiplying these two numbers by 75 to make sure that the percentages make sense. So we do 30 times 0.75, we get 22.5. Well, you can't have half a student, so the total cannot be 30 because it doesn't comply with our rules and it doesn't comply with the 75%. So now we're left with 36, which has to be our answer. But just in case, we can do 36 times 0.75, and that's going to give us a whole number of 27. So now that we have a whole number of 27 students, and we have a total of we have a total of 30 students, we can do 30 minus 27, that gives us 3. So 3 students don't have backpacks. 3 out of 36 is equal to 1 over 6, which makes sense. Which means that that is our total. Cool. Moving on to number 69, which is right here. A merry-go-round has 25 horses. Each horse is labeled consecutively from letter A to Y. The first horse is labeled A, the second is B, so on and so forth. A child walks around the merry-go-round starting at a horse A and continuing in alphabetical order, continuing as she goes. She stops at the 337th horse. What letter is that horse? Well, I don't know why, but there's a rule. Whenever you have these like stupidly large numbers, and if you want to find them, you have to divide it by the total. So she's in a circle, and then it's like, oh, there you go. That's a horse. Too bad. I'm not an art channel, but there's another horse, and there's 25 of these, and she walks around them 337 times. So I want to know how many full circles she can get, and once she makes that full circle, I want to know how many more she goes. And I do that by dividing 337 by 25. So let me write it out. 337 divided by 25. You do this for every single combination problem that asks you for this, by the way. So 33, how much does 25 fit into 33? That's 1 time. 25 minus 33, that's going to be 2. Carry over the 1, that's 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. Carry down to 7. 25 goes into 7 3 times. That's 75. That's, oh, don't need to do that. I'm so used to them messing me up like that. But anyway, 7 minus 5 is 2, 8 minus 1 is 12. So here's our remainder. We have 13 remainder 12, which what that means is that she'll make 13 total rotations around the merry-go-round until she starts once more. So she goes from A to Y 13 equal times, and then she stops at A, and then she walks another 12 times before she stops. So from A, our starting point, we could just count out 25 in order to find that number. So let's do it. So we have A, which is 1, B, which is 2, C, which is 3, D, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that means the 12th horse that she'll stop on will be horse number L. I hope that made sense. Problems like these are really common on the SHSAT, so you should master the subject and try not to get confused. Moving on to number 70, which is K. A 5-ounce bag of candies sells for $1.50. At this rate, what would be the total price of a 1-pound bag of candy? So we know what 5 ounces is, but we don't know what 1 pound is. So luckily they give us a conversion. You should already know this before the SHSAT, but if you didn't, here it is. So we want to go from 5 ounces to 16 ounces. How we do that? We multiply by 16 over 5. Why do we do that? Because if we multiply by 16 over 5, our 2 5s cancel out, we're left with 16. So, but remember, this is kind of a rate. We know that 5 is equal to 1.50, and if we want 16, we multiply by 16 over 5. This turns into 16. Whatever we do to this side, we must do to this side, so we have to multiply 150 by 16 over 5. So 16 over 5 is actually equal to 3.2. So that's the same thing as saying 1.50 times 3.2. 150 times 3.2 is going to equal to 4.8. So that's 1 pound is equal to $4.8 or $4.80. So yeah, always this is kind of similar to a similar triangle problem or a similar rectangle problem. Just remember scale factors and conversions and all that and whatnot. 74 now. The taxi compare charges $2 per ride plus 30 cents for each 1/5 a mile ridden. If a taxi ride costs $20, how many miles long does the taxi ride? So for the $20 in total, and we know we can just subtract 2 immediately because we know that there's a $2 flat fee. So now so now the person rode $18 worth of miles, and we know that there's 0.3 cents for each 1/5. So we'll have to divide this by 0.30. 18 divided by 0.3 is going to equal to 60. So that means that she rode 60 1/5 miles. Obviously, we want this in regular miles, so we do 1/5 of a mile. That means she rode 1/5 of a mile 60 times, so we could just multiply that like that. And we're left with 60 over 5, which is equal to 12, which is G. So yeah, don't get confused. Always know what your equation actually means. Yeah. Moving on to number 76, which is our last question. Sorry for the really lack of variety here, or like lack of questions. I have to go really soon after this, so I can't really spend too much time. So Shelby's rent is $800 per month. Since she could not pay this month's rent when due, her landlord accepted 40% of the rent on the first day of the month and another 25% of the original day on the 10th. And on the rest she must pay on the 20th. How much rent shall she pay on the 20th day? So she has a total of 800, right? And she has to pay 40 of it on the first day. So let's calculate that. So 800 times 0.4 is going to equal to 320. So $320 is how much she paid on the first day. So out of 800, we could already subtract 320 down. Look at her being responsible, paying her bills. Next, another 25% of the original rent was due on the 10th. So what this means was that no, we're not taking 25% out of 320. We're taking it out of the original rent, which was 800. So we're multiplying 800 times 25%. Same thing as saying 800 times 0.25. 800 times 0.25 is equal to 200. So we can subtract under 200 from her rent. And we don't know how much she pays on the 20th day, but she has to pay whatever is left over. So we can just solve this subtraction. We can do 800 minus 320 minus 200, which is equal to $280. So she has to pay $280 on the 20th day. That was the last problem. I think this is the shortest video that I probably made, but thank you all for making it to the end of the video and watching. Feel free to leave suggestions in the comments. If you want me to tell me what to do next, really, guys, I need the suggestions, because I'm just picking random topics at this point. Also, make sure to check out the Discord server. I hope I'll meet y'all there. And that being said, it just got really awkward, and I'm gonna leave. Have a nice day. I hope you learned something.